Coming out this afternoon. Without really further ado, I'd like to introduce the General Manager of the Winnipeg Jets Hockey Club, Mr. Kevin Cheveldayoff.
Thanks everyone for coming here today, and just want to take a moment to say thanks to Rick and to Judy on behalf of True North Sports and Entertainment, the Winnipeg Jets, on behalf of all the management, the other coaches, and I see by some of the guys in the room here that are still in town here, some of the players are here as well. Just really want to thank Rick for the 2 years that he came and gave us here. It's kind of poetic, I guess, in a way, to have him getting his first coaching job in the National Hockey League here in Winnipeg and coming full circle and having the opportunity to go out on a note that he did. I'd like to congratulate him on a wonderful career, All-Star Game appearance this year, and to culminate it with being honored as being one of the three candidates for the Jack Adams. And again, all the things in the middle. When I got a chance to read the press conference, the press release, about the event here, is what an accomplished career. But I get to know that working with him, the career is second to the person that he really is and what he's brought to the game. So thanks very much, Rick. Thanks very much, Judy, the whole entire family. And I'll turn it over to Rick.
Yeah, well, thank you. You talked to me out of retirement 2 years ago, man. Judy and I are all set to call it a day at then. But if I was going to come back to coaching, I couldn't have picked a better place to come back to and to finish my career with. There's a big draw here, obviously, because of our previous experience here. We know the people that run the organization are fantastic people. This is a great organization, and it's a great city to play hockey in. That I knew. And we have a tremendous, passionate following here, and so I couldn't have picked a better place to come back to and to finish my career. We've got great players. I've been fortunate to have a great coaching staff, and all the accolades about the All-Star Game and the nomination. Man, it's the players and it's the coaches that got me there. And like I said a couple of times, how many coaches can take the month of November off and still be where we are? The coaches and the players deserve all the credit for that. But yeah, it's been my pleasure to come back. It's been a real honor for me to coach the Winnipeg Jets again.
Yeah, we'll move to questions. Hopefully the microphones will be a little louder so we can hear the answers. But please, there's no wireless mics, so please just raise your voices if you could. Start with Paul in the front.
Rick, can you take us through the decision from when you first had an inkling to when you knew?
Well, honestly, it's walking off the ice after Tuesday night. It is. I didn't like me. I didn't like the way our team played, which is on me. So I was unhappy with myself, unhappy that we had lost, and that bothered me. But as I was standing there and I was looking around, it dawned on me. Coaches have always told me, and I've talked to the older coaches, older than me, and they've always said, you'll know it's time. And when I was looking around, and I wasn't happy with the job I had done, and it just hit me then, like, it's time.
Was there a sense that you've taken this team as far as you could?
No, I would say it's more of a disappointed that I didn't take that team further.
Last one from me. Your words last week talked about you know what you want. And you need to meet with Kevin and Mark and you'll let us know. How much of all that included a succession plan?
Well, so yeah, when I'm walking off the ice, I told the coaches an hour later that I'm done. I'm finished. I'm going to retire. And they're all looking at me. You sure? you want to take some time on this? But I knew. I knew in my heart it was time. And I think a lot of it goes back to a couple of years ago that Judy and I have always talked about this for 7 years since we left Tampa. When I left Tampa, I had a couple of offers of 3 or 4 year contracts at other teams. I went to Dallas on a 1 year deal. Loved Jimmy Nill, trusted Jimmy Nill. They had Ben Bishop in the net, and I wanted to see if I wanted to keep going. And I loved my time in Dallas, so we've kept going. But there comes a time, and it just right now just seems to be like the time.
Go ahead, John.
Rick, how much did
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, listen, like I said at the time, those are life-changing moments. They are. They are. And I'm still dealing with some minor issues that I've got to get resolved. The last thing I wanted to happen was to me to come to Chevy and Chipper in November and say, I can't do this anymore. Like, there was no way I was going to let that happen. So there's some issues that we got to get fixed, and they'll be fixed. But there was no way I was going to, if I was feeling it that night, there was no way I was going to get into the season and then say, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I knew then that, okay, I got to take some time here.
Was there any sense of, after this feeling that you described on Tuesday night, was there any sense of unfinished business that sort of crept back into perhaps weighing against?
I wouldn't say, no, I'm just, again, disappointed that I didn't get this team further. That's my biggest disappointment, and it's something I'm going to have to live with.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Finally getting to you, Kelly. Usually you're the first man. It's unreal. Like, where's the respect here? Let's go. Right?
All briefly, since we're into the off-season now. Rick, just in terms of, you had mentioned you talked to the coaches an hour later. Did you talk to any of the players, or were they hearing this for the first time today?
No, I called a few of the players last night that I could. I didn't want them to see it on the email. So I didn't call every player, no. I was going to call Mason Appleton, but he's busy with a new baby, so I didn't want to disturb that household. I saw Vladdy. I called Adam and a couple of the others. I called the captains and Bucky. I didn't get to call everybody, no. But I didn't want them to hear about it from somebody else. It had to come from me.
You sound like, this was a decision that was going to change your mind, but did people try to change your mind? Whether it was talking with Judy or the family or Mark?
Oh, listen, my kids are saying, come on, Dad, you can go for 50 years here. Let's go. Right? And I'm just, that's easy for you to say, right? No, honestly, they know me, and they know that, when I explain everything to them, they know it's time, right? So, I'm going to be watching games. I'll be calling the players, bugging them all the time, and bugging the coaches. So that's all part of it. I'm not going very far, right? The TV's going to be right there, and we'll be watching the games. It's my life. It's the only thing I know. I'm not smart enough to do anything else, so it's not like I'm going to go into anything else. Hockey's my life. Hockey's what I know.
One final one, if I may.
Well, you go ahead.
If you had gone a round or two deeper, would we be still having this conversation today?
I don't.
Mainly based on what happened.
I probably yes and no, but I think it goes back to some of the health issues I got to get fixed. So I think it goes back to that.
Go ahead, Sean.
Rick, when it comes to pulling off a 4-decade career as a coach,
5. Just well, you're going to say it's going to be 5.
yeah,
I'll age myself.
now those are my songs. What does it take as far as support from your kids, your wife, colleagues, players? What does it take to pull off a career like that?
Everything. Listen, I'm not going anywhere without Judy's support. Like, as a player, we got bounced around. As a coach, we bounced around. You have those conversations with your family. Like, is it time to do something else? And Judy supported this whole thing. Like, we've been together since we were 16 years old, right? So she'd been through the whole ride, right? So she knows. And when I keep telling people this, she's going to miss it more than me, right? When I was walking off the ice the other night, I turned to look at her. She's got the little towel going and everything, so she's going to miss it more than I will. But no, it's just a ride that it's like Adam. Like you grow up in the game. That's all you know. Hockey is all we know as a family. So we'd run into people at home in the summer like, how do you do this? But it's the only life our kids knew. Is right. Dad's playing. Dad's coaching. We're moving again, and that was a normal life to them, right? So, but they get it. They understand. There comes a time, and we've talked about this for a while. Dad's going to call it a day here soon. So, but again, they'd love me to go for 50 years. So, then I said, when does it stop? Then.
You've talked about the lifestyle that hockey has afforded you. I wonder if just kind of a global look at it, if you could kind of summarize beyond that what hockey has given you in your life.
Tremendous friendships. Or I'm hearing today from guys I played with, and that's a long time ago, right? So, and from all over the world, just people you coached. They're over in Europe, and I'm getting texts from them. So, yeah, It's just, it's the friendships and the people you meet. Hockey people are great people, and they are. And we have our own little culture, our own little world, and that separates us from a lot of people. People don't understand what we go through, but we all understand what we go through.
And last one for me, you just talked about, feeling the disappointment of where things ended with the team, and I wonder, when you kind of sit back and know that it's the end, what are some of the kind of prevailing emotions that really have kind of flashed up since you made this decision?
Well, again, it's the game. Listen, when I leave, just I just want to be remembered that it's your fault. I just love the game, right? And I respected the game. I love this league. I respect the league. I hope over my career that it's not winning the Stanley Cup. It's always been important, but over the years as you age, you hope you have an impact on your players' lives, off the ice, on the ice. And that's been more important to me over the last 10 years. I've had some runs at the Stanley Cup, and things happen that are out of your control with injuries and everything. And then you lose the cup and okay, things happen out of your control. What is in your control every day is the impact that you can have on your players, on and off the ice. That is within a coach's control, and I've always taken great pride in that. After a while, you get close to the cup, you lose, and you say, God, we're healthy, we could have won that. Well, that's out of your control. As a coach, you can control how you deal with the players every day, and that's helping them on the ice, and you hope that you teach them some life lessons along the way as well.
Ken, did you have one?
Yeah, Kevin, what's Rick's lasting legacy in this organization?
Well, I think there's many things. I think that when you think of Rick's tenure here with us, that could come to mind. But obviously, I was joking with Judy here a little while ago. We were talking about, and with Bones a couple of times as well, is that they probably dreaded seeing my number pop up on the phone and pulling them out of retirement. But maybe he thought we were joking at first, and maybe but we asked them to put their lives on hold to come here to Winnipeg to help give us this group a different voice, a different path, some strong structure, and when just listening to Rick talk here right now, like, those are the things that being around Rick, that you sit and you think about each and every day. I think I have a greater appreciation for the National Hockey League and what it means to be in the National Hockey League each and every day, for being around Rick and how he carried himself and what he talked about, and just the presence that he brings, and to see, to be able to watch him interact with the players, to see him how he communicated with the players, to see him how he would deliver hard news to players that wasn't something that was going to be popular, and just his compassion and his directness. But one thing that Bones always was and is he's been authentic. And when it came to this process here right now, and when we talked about it for the first time, and then Rick and I had a brief conversation, I think it was even yesterday, is his thoughts were turned towards more from an organization standpoint. Like, he's always putting the organization or the players or other people ahead of himself. And I said to him, it would be very selfish for me to sit here and think that you are being selfish without telling you, Bones, that you owe this to yourself. But again, just a great hockey coach, and an even better person. Just so thankful that he picked up my phone that day that we called a couple of years ago.
Hey, you took me off the golf course.
I did. It was to the point though too where I made the phone call, left the message, and it took a little while for him to get back. We ended up having to reach out to his son and say, is your dad going to give us a call or what?
What are you proudest of these 2 years? What are you proudest of?
Well, it's like I said the other day, we had the issues that were going on before we got here had to be addressed. They did. I didn't like the things that people were talking about, the Winnipeg Jets. That bothered me, even though I wasn't even working here. So we did have to change the culture. We did. And you have have to take some hard strides to do that. You have to take some very unpopular strides, and they were, and that's okay. You got to make some tough decisions, you make them. We had to give the team a more consistent identity so that it could stay in the playoffs year after year. And I think we've done that for the most part. And we got the team back in the playoffs, which was the big objective, okay? Now, are we happy that where we are with the playoffs? Absolutely not. There's more to give. This team is better than what we saw in the playoffs, so that's on me. So, yeah, we had to do those things, but the other things don't fall into place until you get the culture all straightened out. Once that's in place and the players are all in, and they're in there every day, and you can see the camaraderie, you know, okay, we've made progress there. Then you see the game, the team game that I talk an awful lot about when it's on, how good it looked, right? And then the players felt good about that team game, and this is how we're going to win. And we came up short of all of our objectives, and the players are just as disappointed as all of us are, and they are. They're the ones that have to go out there every night and work and compete, take hits, block shots. They're the ones paying the price. So they're disappointed as well. But there's a growth in that. You take a positive out of that. That okay, we're better than this, right? Now last year at the end of the year, oh my God, we got to straighten out some more things, and they did by the time training camp came along. This summer they'll grow again, and they will, and they'll be a better team for it next year.
Go ahead, Paul, in the back.
Rick, as you pass through the emotional side of this, thought about what you want to do in retirement and what might excite you about that? Not to be flippant, but are you thinking about a new fishing rod or a new driver? Or
I'm not much of a fisherman, Paul. I go down, we live on the lake, and I cast, and I'm just watching the sunset. I don't care if I catch a fish. I'm a golfer. I'm going to spend a lot of time with the grandkids. Brendan's going to be 4 in June. Blake will be 1 in July. We want to spend a lot of time with them. But I'm going to stay around, man. I'm not dying, man. I'm just retired. I'm going to be around.
yourself involved in the game at all?
Sure.
Advisory role or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll call you when you, right? When you screw up.
Go ahead over here.
You've been a player and a coach here with the Winnipeg Jets. What do you prefer?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
What do you prefer as a player or coach with the Jets?
Listen, there's nothing better than as a player, and I tell the play as long as you can, man. Because once you quit, you're done. Like I quit at 28, only because they wanted me to come up here as an assistant coach, right? So that's young to retire. I know I was playing in the minors at the time, but it was in November of '83. They fired Tommy Watt. Barry Long was taking over. They wanted me to come up and be an assistant coach. I figured, okay, I'm 28. If it doesn't work out, I'll go back and play a few more years, right? But it's worked out that fine too. But as a player, man, you want to play as long as you can. You do, because when you're done, you're done. And you'll always miss playing. I love the coach. I was very fortunate to be a player one day and the very next day be an assistant coach up in this league. So I've been very fortunate. It's a different route, there's no question. But I love playing, but I love coaching too. So it's the best thing. If you can't be a player, coach, because it keeps you in the room, keeps you behind the bench, it keeps you in the action. And that's what we all love.
There's a lot of francophones fans of the Jets. You've not worked with them in French.
I don't understand. I can't hear you.
Anything in French?
In French? No, I wish I could. I used to. But I can't say anything anymore. I'll call Alain Vigneault and he'll help me out again.
Go ahead, Judy.
You said that you're going to stay involved in the game. Would you consider kind of a consulting role, or is that something you've been on?
No, we haven't even gone there. No, it's too early for that. But yeah, I'll be around.
How much input might you have in this succession?
That we haven't even gone near that. That's like Chevy and Chipper, Larry and Zinger. They'll take care of all that.
John, did you have another one?
Yeah, sorry, to that end, Kevin, would you call on Rick for inputs, because he's laid the foundation for a new direction for this club, to help identify the successor?
Well, one of the things that I think are the benefits of having gone through, even the coaching search when, we ultimately found Bones, was that, you learn and you grow. So it would be crazy for me, not to tap into not only Bones's, personal knowledge, professional knowledge, but his personal knowledge. And over the course of time, you benefit by watching coaches make decisions, or coaches coach or coaches teach. But I've benefited with gaining a closer personal relationship and a friendship with again with Rick, and that's a special thing. So there's Rick. There's not a guy that I don't think that Rick probably hasn't met, coached, or played with over the period of time here, and I think they all say the same thing. So he's a wealth of knowledge, on the ice, off the ice, and a great friend that definitely is going to be seeing my number pop up on his phone over the course of the years.
Murat, go ahead.
Rick, I think one thing that we noticed a lot of over the last couple of years was you making time for your assistants and associates to elevate them. Like even in Denver, they were running a lot of the drills. You gave them a lot of chances to do media and all that sort of thing. So when you think about legacy, how important is their growth, and how important was that from the day you got here?
Well, that was very important for me. Listen, I was an assistant coach for a long time, and I always wanted to feel valuable. I always wanted to feel my opinion mattered. I always wanted to run the drills. I wanted to feel part of it. I know there's been head coaches in this league, and they do every meeting, they do every practices, they do everything. I couldn't work for a guy like that. So, there's no way I'd ever coach like that. If I'm gonna hire these people, that means they're good coaches. They are. That means also, just as important, they're good people, and they're good communicators, and this staff was outstanding that way. So, they deserved a lot of leeway, and they earned it. They had my respect, and they had my trust. And if we didn't like something, we'd always talk about it as a staff after. But again, being an assistant coach and associate coach in this league for a long time, you want to feel valued. You want to feel that your opinion matters. Now, there may be different opinions, and the head coach ultimately has to make that final call. But you have to get their opinion. I wouldn't have hired them if they weren't respected as a coaching and their communication skills, and those guys all did a fantastic job. Again, and so when I have to take a month off, it's just smooth. They just took over. I missed a couple of games with some things. They smooth it. They took over. They're good hockey people. They're good hockey coaches, and they're very, very good people.
One of the things I think we'll talk about is how much growth the team had in these last 2 years. Rick talked about cultural growth, about leadership, all of these things. It almost seems like it makes this next step on your part maybe a little bit more delicate to consolidate all of that. So what qualities might you hope for to address to make sure that what Rick has built gets pushed to the next level?
Well, there's no question that you're not replacing Rick Bowness. You're not replaced. There's one of him, and I think that every time you get into a situation like this, you want to make sure that the next person can be their own selves as well. This isn't following Rick Bowness and all the great work that he did. This is establishing whoever that next person is from that day moving forward. But I think it does take the special acknowledgement to understand the different levels of foundations that have been put in place here. And one of the things, I guess it kind of goes back to the legacy question here, that I'm extremely, extremely proud of, is having the conversations with Bones and the coaching staff, and their passion for wanting Adam Lowry to become captain, and what that embodies, what that will embody in a Winnipeg Jet, and that moving forward. Those are things that again are going to stick out for me, and certainly as we evolve and move forward here. But and it goes even back to the exit meetings here right now, when we talk to the players, that feeling of not being satisfied, that came from the coaches and came from the players, that we need to go home, we need to get 10% better, we need to get 5% better, whatever percent better, work on your deficiencies, work on that. That came from the leadership group. That was guys like Scheif and J-Mo and Helly and obviously Laus, but those are the kind of things that doesn't just happen. It's something that the coaches instill, and you want that next person to pick up on their own ways, but obviously, understanding that, we need to continue what was being built here.
Okay, Bartley, and then Freezer, and then we'll wrap it up here. Go ahead, Bartley.
What aspect of coaching professional hockey in 2024, if you're the most surprised Rick Bowness in 1980?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Say that again.
What aspect of coaching in 2024 would most surprise you back in 1980?
Back in 1980?
Well, the younger Rick
What
Bowness.
aspect?
younger?
Yeah.
Almost like What's the difference between now versus the younger Rick Bowness coaching? In the
I'm a lot calmer. I am. Used to do some crazy things. Don't you guys laugh over there. No, there's been a ton of changes in the game, and you have to grow with it. So you're coaching in the 80s, which I did, a whole lot different than the coaching today. In a lot of those teams in the 80s, guys that played in the minors, they understood the game a little bit better. They weren't force-fed into the National Hockey League. Over the last 5 decades, the kids are coming in now, and they need a lot more coaching. They need a lot more of your time, and how you deal with them is so your words, your tone is just about as important as the words you use today. More so the tone today than before. They're not as thick-skinned. And you got to be patient with them, which is fine, and that's what coaching in today is. So there's a huge difference between how I coached in the 80s when don't forget, I was a player on a Tuesday, and a Wednesday I'm an assistant coach. I had no idea what I was doing, so I'm going to bring some passion to the game, and we'll work from there. But now it's a lot more involved. There's a lot more teaching involved. There's a lot more coaching involved, and there's a lot more patience involved. And you have to be able to communicate with your players. And again, some of these conversations they don't want to hear, right? They don't. But you can't be afraid to have those conversations. And you just got to get things on the table and you work from that. But there's a huge difference in the game today, so much faster, so much better than it was in the 80s. The 90s, we slowed the game down to a crawl. So the game is right now is in great shape. It's fast. It's exciting. The league's in great shape. But there's a big difference between how coaches coach today than when we did back then. Back in the day.
Do you ever think you're too honest? Too blunt for this way?
You have to be true to yourself, man. That's the biggest thing. You got to be true to yourself, right? So, my goal was never to be the best coach in the league. My goal was to be the best coach I could be. And to be that, you've got to be honest with yourself. So I have to be honest with myself. Again, if they don't like hearing it, deal with it, right? Deal with it. You know how hard it is to win a Stanley Cup? You have to have thick skin, right? You got to be tough. You got to be mentally tough to get there. So if it toughens them up a little bit, that's fine too. But more important, as a coach, you got to be honest to yourself. You got to be true to yourself, and you got to do things your way.
Any regrets?
No.
I've
done some dumb things, but you learn.
What can you tell us about the process of the coaching hire?
Yeah, not much really right now. Obviously, this is Rick's day here. I think that he's earned that kind of respect and then that kind of thing. Obviously, this is fresh for us as well. We Bones and I think first talked on Friday. Had another conversation yesterday as well, and we'll circle around with our staff and certainly get at that process.
Okay, everybody, I thank you very much for coming. On behalf of the organization, I'd like to thank Rick, of course, for all his service and his years in the National Hockey League, but particularly to the Winnipeg Jets. So thank you to Rick, thank you to Chevy, thank you to all of you guys for coming. Adam Lowry and Scott Arneal.